With firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. It's not our protection, it is the protection of man's rights. God will protect man's rights because he needs him to be free to do the work that he's got in store for him. I don't know what it is. But I believe our founders knew this. Columbus knew this. Everybody since Moses. Moses knew this. Protection of divine providence. But it's in our Declaration of Independence. I will tell you, and I'm going to introduce you to somebody here in a second, and I want him to tell the story. You're going to see amazing things in your life if you just stand and do the right thing. I want you to meet somebody that I met, I believe, right after the first of the year, Joshua Charles. I met him in my TV studio. He was a member of the audience on one of the episodes. But let me introduce you to him, and we'll start at the beginning. Hi, Joshua. How are you?
Hey, Glenn. How are you?
Very good. Tell me 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when all of this began with you.
Sure. Around March of 2010, I had just finished, and all this is explained in the original argument, but I finished reading a book by Wilberforce. It was A Practical View of Christianity, William Wilberforce, the great abolitionist. Mm-hmm. And I was so incredibly frustrated by it. The language was incredibly complex. The vocabulary was hard to untangle. It was like Shakespeare light, and I'm an avid reader, but I still found it incredibly difficult. I'd also just finished the Federalist Papers, and looking at what was going on in the country, I figured I was reading the Federalist Papers again, and I was just like, gosh, I'm having a totally new understanding of
everything.
All the stereotypes you hear about in school, checks and balances, federalism, what the heck it all means. And so I decided, if this is difficult for me, an avid reader, not that I have that high of opinion of myself, I don't, but I read a lot, and if it's difficult for me, I know it's probably going to be difficult for a whole lot of other people.
It's difficult for me.
Exactly. And so I decided, kind of half-heartedly, that I would want to translate them, update the language, tried a few, sent them to a few friends, they really liked it, they found it a lot more understandable, but I didn't really decide. I was very lukewarm. And so literally 2-3 days later, I saw you on TV advocating the exact same idea. And so I remember I called my dad right after that. I was like, did you just hear what Glenn Beck said? And he's like, I wasn't watching. I was like, he just said exactly the same idea that I was just thinking I should do. And so...
And what I said on the air was, somebody needs to translate this, because we didn't have the time at the time. I had a million different things going on, but I knew this had to be done. Somebody needs to do it and put it into context of today's world.
Sure. And so I started it, but it was in March, and so I didn't really have a whole lot of time during the semester. It was a pretty stressful semester. So what I did in the meantime, those for 2 months I just saved up money so I didn't have to work over the summer, basically. And first Monday after finals, I get to work. Finished the rough draft on July 4th, but I have to tell you, in terms of the divine providence aspects, there were so many times that I was so ready to just give up. I numbered each and every sentence in each paper, added them up, so I knew literally hourly how much of a percentage of the whole thing I was done, because it was so arduous. And I remember getting to about halfway, I was so close to giving up. What are the chances of getting this into Glenn's hands? Even if I do, will he even like it? Will it be worth a darn thing to him? Will it be worth a darn thing to anybody? And but something, the still small voice was saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. And so I just plodded through, and look where we are.
So now you actually reached out to us several times.
Yeah.
Never got a response.
Yeah.
You must have been just like, oh my gosh, I've done the work. I've done all the work. What happened? Right?
Sure.
How did you try to reach out? Through Fox and everything else?
I tried to send some letters. At first I sent a sample to Fox, hoping I didn't want to send you the whole kahuna.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Tried to get on the radio show, call in.
You were actually, did you hold for hours?
Yeah, I did. I remember one day I held for 4 hours, and then it got into the fourth hour. And I was hoping to talk with Stu or Pat, but it didn't end up working out.
Okay. So then we get to now this last Christmas, and it is, I'm doing Wilmington.
Sure.
And you didn't go when I was there?
No.
Okay. What happened?
Saw you on the show, was watching you with a friend of mine, and we saw what was going on. We saw what it seemed the Lord was doing in Wilmington, the amazing things. And both of us just kind of had this instinctive sense that we just needed to go. And I know there might be some people who don't believe this. I had no thought whatsoever as to the book. And you weren't even going to be there.
Right.
And so we just wanted to go see what God was doing.
Had you kind of given up on the book at this point?
Pretty much. There was a small little thread.
Okay.
As far as getting it to you, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I had looked at a few smaller publishing companies.
Right.
So we instinctively just felt we needed to go. And so we did. And we saw amazing things that could take up a whole another hour or two if you went into all the details. But just God really moved. He really showed up. And
you impressed somebody in Wilmington. Now, you were there over the weekend. Was it the following weekend or just a couple of weekends later that we happened to call Wilmington?
We were there on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call from one of your producers, I believe on Wednesday, as we were leaving back home. And then we got home Thursday, I believe. And then the very next morning, get a call asking to come on the show, talk about Wilmington. At that point, you know, of
Divine
course, there's
providence.
the clicks going.
Yeah. So Joshua, I'm doing this show, and people hand me stuff all the time. But there was something about Joshua that just clicked with me, and we only talked maybe 10, 15 seconds. Maybe?
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Okay. And he came up to me, I think a commercial break or before we started taping or whatever, and he said, "Mr. Beck, I've translated this. You said about a year ago that somebody should do it. I've done it, and I want you to read it." And I took it, and if I'm not mistaken, I walked back to my desk, and I still had it in my hands, and I looked back at you. Did I not? Is this not the way
you did?
I looked back at you, and I said, "If this is any good, I'll publish it."
Yep.
I went back that night. Now, this is the night before we released the 7, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm getting all these PR notices that, "Oh, no, NBC's not going to kill you. They're not going to kill you tomorrow on the Today Show." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And I wrote to the guy who runs the publishing division, and I said, "I believe I've just read the first chapter, but I'll have it done by tonight. I believe the next book is in my hand." And I said, "If NBC doesn't kill me, I'll tell you what it is." I had read most of it that night, and this is how the original argument originally began. It started with Joshua thinking, "I should do this," and then almost giving up, and divine providence, me watching me on TV and saying, "Somebody should do this," reaffirming, then not giving up through all bunch of series of little miracles, and then finally getting it into my hand. And then the rest of the story is what we did with his content. The story didn't just go there and then I say, "Oh, I'm going to slap my name on it."
Sure.
What we did is a lot of work after that to complete the process. We'll give you that, and you can read the original argument. I believe this is the follow-up, the companion to Common Sense. We've made it as cheap as we can. It's about $8-9 everywhere. Find it. The original argument, perfect for Father's Day. More in a second.